I think that's really where social media becomes important. And I know from a digital perspective, everybody wants to have those conversion reports where you can say, we did this, it generated this many calls and this many clicks and this much engagement. And I like that. And that's one of the reasons why I like digital marketing. But I don't think it ever tells really the entire story because you have to look at are we looking at last touch attribution, multi-touch attribution? And that's where things like social media, I think, play a really big role in trying to influence some of the other channels. Are you finding that too with social media?
Oh yeah, a great deal. If you look at multi-channel marketing through social, a lot of the times they will come through social, and then they'll check you out in other places, and you'll go to your website and they'll poke around, and then they'll come through the contact form. And as far as you're concerned, uh, they just came through the contact form on the website. But reality was, social's what drove them, and it's part of that process is very important, more important than it's ever been.
Yeah, and I think you did a good breakdown of that where somebody is going to do a Google search and they see the Google ad that you are running and they look at it and say, oh, wow, that's that company that I saw on Facebook. I'm going to click that. And then they go and they have that brand built and fill out the form. They make that phone call, the ad gets credit for it as it should, right? But because it was there, but social should also get credit for that. And we see that even with branded searches, right? If you're running a heavy influence social campaign, obviously you want clicks from that. You want to generate phone calls from the social platforms themselves, but then you also see the branded searches on Google go up quite a bit during that same time frame. And that's
Mhm.
because people will see the ad, maybe they interact, maybe they don't, but then maybe they remember and go and search you on Google. Your direct traffic a lot of times goes up at that same time because they're just going to your website. So there's a lot of things that social influences quite a bit that doesn't always show up, I think, in the easy to put together reports, we'll
Yeah.
say.
Well, and if you're watching this and you're a practice owner, I understand how running a business is. It is not always awesome. You don't always know where your next meal's coming from. It's stressful. It's difficult. So, and that feeling, I think, has driven well, and revenue as well, but has driven our industry to be very focused on what are the direct sales I got from this particular campaign only, right? And that's the way we track things, because I do think that still, that if I'm running an ad campaign for you, it should more than pay for itself by its by my own tracking standards. These other things, these other weird behaviors, stuff like that's gravy. But I mean, but you have to actually consider the value of your branding. You have to actually look at that, even if it didn't provide a direct sale. The fact that you're posting 12 times a month, and 20, 30,000 people in the community are seeing all these things, and then you're getting, we'll track clicks from your Facebook page, for instance, and we'll see that, on average, when we're doing this for somebody, they'll get 5, 10 calls a month, depending on who they are and where they are. So it can generate a lot of activity. But I want you to think, just as a practice owner, go beyond just, I spent $1,000 on Google ads, and I sold 3 pairs of hearing aids. Um, Start tying them together. Start working with us to come up with a plan that goes beyond a single channel of marketing. You really need to be everywhere. If there was, a lot of people out there are talking about geo and all these other acronyms for SEO. It's SEO's acronym's not going to change. But if I were to change anything, it would be changing the meaning of what SEO is. And I would say SEO should be search everywhere optimization, as opposed to search engine optimization. And that's effectively what we're doing as a company now. And I would encourage you to think the same way as a practice owner, because it's just shifting a little bit.